The avoidant person experiences profound psychological shift when the familiar dynamic of being pursued suddenly ceases and they encounter silence where anxious pursuit once existed. This reversal triggers deep unconscious processes that Carl Jung described as the confrontation with one's shadow self, forcing the avoidant person to face rejected aspects of their psyche, including their own need for connection and fear of abandonment. In this vulnerable state, specific communications can penetrate their defensive armor and speak directly to their hidden longings and unacknowledged wounds. Acknowledgement. Without resentment or judgment, the avoidant person secretly longs to hear that their need for space and autonomy was understood and respected rather than taken as personal rejection or evidence of their deficiency. They desperately want validation that their withdrawal stemmed from internal struggles rather than lack of care or value for their partner. This acknowledgement soothes profound guilt they carry about hurting someone while simultaneously being unable to act differently due to their psychological wiring and defense programming. Jung understood that the shadow contains not just negative qualities but also positive potentials that have been rejected or undeveloped. The avoidant person's shadow holds their capacity for vulnerable connection that their conscious ego rejects as dangerous. When someone can acknowledge their struggles with compassion rather than condemnation, it creates possibility for integrating these rejected aspects. They want to hear that their limitations were seen as wounds requiring healing, rather than character flaws deserving punishment, allowing them to begin the difficult work of self-acceptance necessary for transformation. Recognition that they were valued beyond their performance. The avoidant person secretly wants to hear that their worth as human being existed, independent of their capacity for emotional availability or consistent presence. They carry deep shame about their inability to reciprocate love in ways their partner needed and deserved, believing their value depends entirely on their relational performance. Hearing that someone held genuine care for them regardless of their limitations speaks to their core wound of feeling fundamentally unlovable beneath their defensive independence. Jung emphasized that individuation requires accepting all aspects of oneself, including perceived inadequacies and limitations. The avoidant person needs permission to be imperfect without losing worth or value in another's eyes. They want to hear that their partner saw their struggle, recognized their humanity beneath their defenses, and maintained regard for them even while choosing to protect themselves by ending the relationship. This unconditional positive regard without expectation of reciprocity addresses their deepest fear of being loved only conditionally, based on their ability to meet others' needs. Invitation without pressure or expectation. The avoidant person secretly wants to hear that connection remains possible should they choose it, without anyone demanding they immediately enter or requiring they explain their previous behavior. They need to know that the door stays open without someone standing on the other side insisting they walk through it before they feel ready. This invitation without coercion speaks to their fundamental need for autonomy and choice rather than obligation and pressure. Jung recognized that psychological transformation cannot be forced but must emerge from internal readiness and authentic desire. The avoidant person wants to hear that reconnection can unfold organically if and when they have done sufficient internal work to engage differently. They need freedom to approach intimacy at their own pace without ultimatums or timelines imposed from outside. This respects their process while maintaining possibility, creating conditions where genuine change becomes possible rather than demanded. Honest communication about impact without emotional manipulation. The avoidant person wants to hear direct, honest communication about how their behavior affected their partner without accompanying guilt trips, emotional manipulation, or attempts to control their response through induced shame.